Welcome to Connecting Greeks, a streaming comedy show and podcast designed to explore and enhance Greek culture around the world. Join hosts Angelo, Ari, and Foti as they bring you fun and interesting guests from all walks of Greek life. Grab a kafedaki and join us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another fantastic episode of Connecting Greeks, the show where we take fun, interesting, cool, amazing Greeks from around the world, and we get to know them. We chat with them. We see the similarities, differences, and believe me, there's a lot of similarities between all Greeks, no matter where they're from, no matter what they do. And we find this out every week, and it amazes me every time. Ari, thank you so much for joining us. With me is my co-host, Foti Stamos. Hello, Foti.
Yasu Ari.
How are you?
Good. I can't believe it's been already a week since we talked.
I know. It's amazing. But what's more amazing is all the way over in LA is Mr. Amazing himself, Angelo Tsarougas. Hello, Angelo. How are you?
I appreciate that you recognize that you can associate my name with the word amazing.
Always.
Guys, always miss you guys. Ari, Foti. We're having fun. You know what? I'm going to say this. We're having fun doing this. And like, it's all Greek collaborations. We haven't fought. We actually like what we're doing. We're getting along.
That's not a person.
Because it's always like, because I always say connecting Greeks, we should call it, clobbering Greeks, because sometimes, but we keep it light. We're having fun. And I think we've really been getting great guests. And today as you can see, I'm in a Toronto state of mind.
Yeah.
It's like my second home. Yes, I'm from Montreal. Yeah, I was raised in Ottawa, but I had 10 of the most amazing years of my life in that city. And it changed my life going to Toronto, and it's still in my heart. And when I first got there, I made new friends, and I was exposed to probably one of the best Greek towns in the world. And I don't know if you guys have been there, but it was when I was there. And I got to meet some interesting people and make some wonderful friends. And our guest coming up, I put him first in the friends category because to me, he's one of the most decent, kind-hearted people I've met. And together with his family, they have created something very, very special. Cinespace Studios is a Toronto company that houses film and television projects. They're in Chicago. They're doing all kinds of things. Arguably, I think the largest independent film studio, in North America. They've had Oscar-winning films. I've worked in those facilities, and unbeknownst to me, I got to meet this family. So I'm going to introduce my friend and the man who's now the face and the force of Cinespace Studios, my friend Dimitrios, Jim Mirkopoulos. Welcome to Connecting Greeks, Jim.
Thank you very, very much. And you're too kind in the introduction. I feel more honored to be joining you guys. I congratulate you on this effort. It's so fun to catch up with Greeks all over the world and listen to what the exciting things people are doing. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you very, very much.
First of all, Jim, I want to say I love your hair and I'm loving the beard. And you have a wonderful family. I'm telling the guys this because it's interesting what's happening. I met the late, great, your uncle, Nick Mirkopoulos, who, along with your father and your uncles, and created Cinespace Studios. And I mean, if you see these facilities, and what's interesting to me, even when I did a little bit of research, Jim, you guys are like 5 stars on Google. I mean, they Google and Yelp studios. And it's like, I think you run the studios the way you would treat your family. And anybody that I've ever spoken to that has filmed or worked there says the same thing. And it's interesting to me because it's like, if there's a problem, don't worry about it. We'll fix it. Yeah. And it's hard to get that anymore. And you would think associated to that. So I just want to know, first of all, Jim, so how did you, obviously it's family business, but this isn't just a regular business. How did you get involved? Did you want to? How did it work?
First, I'll touch on what you just mentioned. That ethos that you just talked about is the Greek entrepreneur's ethos. So when a Greek builds something, whether it's a restaurant, a film studio, a construction business, the client is like a family member. And, early on when Nick first started this business, I'll tell you how we got into it. He realized that the family DNA, which is really the Hellenic DNA, resonated very well with the film industry. Hard work, creativity, entrepreneurial drive, and loyalty, and giving back to the community. The film industry loved that. So that's how Nick developed this reputation of this crazy Greek. He's turning a steel plant into the biggest studio in Canada. Like, he just developed this amazing reputation based on things that are Hellenic traits. So a lot of Greek businesses have that, and we're just very fortunate to be one of them. But to tell the origin story, my late uncle, God rest his soul, he was the consummate entrepreneur. He just always wanted to do different things, and he was technically trained at the Siemens Institute in Germany as an electrician. And he came to Toronto. He just saw this city in the late 1960s just blowing up, and he said to the other brothers, "Come on over." And the second oldest out of the five brothers was my father, Lazarus, and he got him right away, started to try to do some construction. The fifth brother came over, my uncle Steve, who's our CEO today. He was trained nuclear engineer. He went to U of T for nuclear engineering, and they all joined in together in construction. And Uncle Nick found this 7-acre steel plant in downtown Toronto that was for sale. He says, "Guys, we should buy this old steel plant." And of course, the other brothers, not being trained as entrepreneurs yet, said, we don't understand the vision. What do you see here? He said, "Well, we can build big fabricating spaces 25, 30 feet high, and welders can build spiral staircases, spaces that don't exist in Toronto right now." So late 1988, they closed on a huge steel plant in the east end of the city, started building these large, what would have been like industrial units that are very high. And all of a sudden, as you know, Angelo, in the late 80s, our dollar was at only 67 cents of the American dollar. So we were getting a lot of production trying to come up here, but they were short on space.
Right.
So location managers just started calling my uncle and said, "Can we have 4 of those units? And can we please get them for 6 months?" But just knock the walls down. And all of a sudden, that's when Nick realized that there was a real market here that needed to be addressed. So he got on a plane to Los Angeles, spent some time there to figure out what was going on, the industry, how could he get more people to Toronto, came back, and then literally overnight, Cinespace Film Studios was born. And he started to convert a steel plant into a 250,000 square foot studio facility. And then overnight, Cinespace became the biggest in Canada, and years later, the largest private operation in North America. So it's an amazing entrepreneur story, and it's a classic Hellenic story. Hard work, giving your blood, sweat, and tears, pouring it onto the asphalt and the property so people can see it, and then the good people reward you for the hard work, and they come back and they bring the next project and the next project. That's how it all started.
So cool. Jim, I would sit there we go to these events when I lived in Toronto, guys, and Nick would grab me with the little cigars he used to like to smoke. And he was real Greek, but balls, because he told me, I would ask him, and he goes, "We had the facilities." So I go to him, "What did you do?" "What did I do? I got on the airplane. I went to Los Angeles."
Yeah.
This is something when people ask about entrepreneurs or enterprising, sometimes, like you said, you had the stuff, they called them, they had no space. Now Toronto, if you go to Toronto now, your studios are amazing. All these shows, guys, that are being filmed now in Toronto, like Rain and Chicago. I remember being on set with you, Jim, when they were doing Chicago back when the one that won the Oscars with Richard Gere and Zeta Jones. And you've seen all these people. And even on Kipling Avenue, when we go to the other ones where Frank and those guys are, which you helped me with introducing me to people as well. And you go to these massive studios and these big productions, and Jim, let's go get a cafe. They have a little coffee shop there, and we'd sit down. And and it was funny because your uncle Nick would just tell me stories, and I was fascinated. Yeah. Like you said, very smart guy. He was an engineer, electrician, like your dad, like your uncles. But to get into something like this is not a restaurant. This isn't a barber shop. Yeah. This isn't like dry cleaners. Yeah. You're facilitating the elite Hollywood of the world.
Yep. And he realized that by being smart and entrepreneurial and working hard, you could get so far. But he realized there was another level of penetration at Hollywood. So he started to figure out, okay, this Greek family is opening up a studio operation. Is this going to be enough? So he says, who can I bring on to help, raise the level of credibility of this operation? So Angelo, you probably know the story of this impresario gentleman that used to be employed by the Royal York Hotel. He's a legend in Toronto named Gino Empri. If you Google him,
did know Gino.
You'll know all about this guy.
Yes.
This guy, in the classic old days of Sinatra coming to Toronto, if Sinatra was at the Royal York and he needed something in the middle of the night, illicit, Gino was the guy that had a little room in the hotel, says, what do you need? I'll go get it for you. Boom, 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 got it. As a result, Gino Empri was a legend in Hollywood because of all the facilitation he would do for these big, big stars that came to Toronto. So Nick brought him on staff, said, Gino's our PR and our marketing guy. So Gino, make all the calls to everyone in Hollywood, tell them about this place. Boom. Gino stayed on for 2 years. I can't remember what it was. All of a sudden, everybody knew about Cinespace. Everybody knew about Nick, and everyone knew that Gino was our PR guy. So that was kind of how we got to the next level up to sort of penetrate that.
But, Jim, the insight that Nick had, I'm going to get Gino. Now, Gino Empri was an interesting. He wore capes. He was a publicist for Playboy Canada. I used some of the stuff with him. He used to book the Imperial Room at the Royal York Hotel. Yeah. He knew everybody at the film festival, Tony Bennett, Susan Ant, Madonna. I mean, seriously, Jim's right. But to have the insight to say, look, if we're going to step up to the next level, what do? You work with the right people, you pay them, and in results, you get the results you're looking for. And thus, the product that is Cinespace Studios today. But I always like the fact, though, Jim, because you're working in this world, but you guys were always active in the communities in Toronto, the HHF, the church, whether it was a member of parliament who was Greek. I always saw how, because I was at most of the events with you guys, and I also saw that, yes, you had this corporate world and image that you have, but you never strayed away from who you guys were. And I think, like you said earlier, that's what they liked in Hollywood, that it wasn't bullshit. It was like, look, this is how we do business. If we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. A lot of Greeks have that ethos, as you said. And I think at the end of the day, that's what people resonate to. Right. So the secret formula sometimes, I think, for success is if you're going to say something and then you deliver it, why wouldn't you work with these people again?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's the other part of Nick's legend is, and how he became a legend on his own, is there'd be a producer from Disney walking through one of the newer spaces on a Friday, and he's walking on a dirt floor. He says, Nick, we're moving in here on Monday. There's a dirt floor. He says, yeah, there'd be concrete on Monday. Don't worry about it. The producer is like, no, it's not going to be concrete here. Comes in Monday, freshly poured, cured, ready, concrete, ready to go. And he's like, I can't believe this. This is mind-boggling to me how this happened. Well, that story is still told by that same producer. We're now going 33 years later. So those are the things that stay in people's mind when they get exemplary service, when miracles happen in front of them. It's all about, under promising, over delivering, and making sure people leave happy, because they'll remember the great experiences much, much longer than they'll remember the bad ones. So we really wanted to make an impression as a family. And in terms of giving back, that's a Hellenic ethos as well. As if you're successful,
yes,
your duty is to give back. That's not your money that you made. That's the guy upstairs who gave you 2 arms, 2 legs, a working brain, working eyes, to work hard. So how do you pay it back? You pay it back to the community, to the people that need it most. And I think it was most impactful in Chicago. We support a lot of causes up here too, but in Chicago, we landed in a very, very bad area of Chicago, North Lawndale, very, very bad area. But we found a 50-acre steel plant. It was like Nick was reborn again down there, and just created this massive, massive campus. And he said to the producers, we're talking like we landed there in 2009. The studio officially opened 2011. And he said to the union heads, he says, hey guys, you have a problem on my studio campus. He said, Nick, what's the problem? He said, the color of your crews doesn't match the color of the community. You got to change that. You can't take 50 acres of this prime land and bring tens of millions of dollars from Hollywood and not leave a good footprint when you leave. You have to leave a good footprint. And one way to do it is get some of the black youth. There was a local alderman, a local black alderman who Nick had given him an office space on the campus. And he said to him, any kids that you have that are already in trouble in a minor way, bring them here and let's see if we can help them turn it around. So Nick would hire these kids to push a broom, lift a box, move some cables from here to there. And if they showed up to work for 6 weeks in a row, every day, 7 o'clock, clock in properly after lunch, Nick would sponsor them to the union. And to get a union card in Chicago is not a small amount.
No
it's almost prohibitive. It's, $5,000 or $6,000 US. So then when they saw how successful the project was and really got kids to turn their lives around, we hired a local lady in the community. My cousin Alex in Chicago really spearheaded a lot of this, and along with Uncle Nick. And they found a lady to come on board, and they started what's called the Nick Mirkopoulos internship program, which is take 20 kids from the community, bring them in, put them 2 weeks in the wardrobe department, 2 weeks in the art department, 2 weeks on locations, 2 weeks as carpentry, see what they like. And if they finish the whole project, again, we pay for their union ticket. And these are kids that sometimes are going from gangs and drugs being their only, real option for making money to making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year in a matter of, 3 or 4 months. So it's a pretty amazing program. And Nick did all this well before all the BIPOC and, in minority, you have to have a certain minority in your on your production. And as a result, NBC Universal and Fox were our big clients in the Chicago lot. All of a sudden, HBO started calling, saying, tell us about this program. Warner Brothers started calling, saying, tell us about this program. This was all from Nick's heart and from seeing, here's a guy who has his head down on the grindstone building a business. Well, he had that innate ability to look up and look around and say, whoa, the colors of the crews in the community don't match. We're not helping the community if we're just bringing trucks and money into here, but we're just paying property tax. We've got to do something else. So it's a very successful project, and we're not only very proud of it, but we're just Nick was years ahead of his time. We're much more poised to have a huge community impact down there rather than Toronto, which is a pretty well-to-do city. Every area we had a studio in Toronto was, for the most part, a pretty good part of the city. So Nick just had that. He had it in his heart. He always wanted to give back, and that's a lesson that my cousin Alex, who now runs the Chicago operation, takes with him. He lives by it, and we do the same thing here in Toronto.
That's incredible.
But Jim, you filotimo.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm going to fucking say it again. Filotimo. It's not just building a business.
Yes.
It's filotimo. The man is a visionary. Yes, you have business. Yes, you do that. He looked around.
Yeah.
I'm going to tribute this. I'm going to say this for the Greeks. Mescovi. It cuts us, as I make the jokes about. But it's true.
Yeah.
You went there. He right away identified that, look, in this neighborhood, what we're doing here is not jiving, because it's an insight, and I think you can be as educated as you want. If you don't get it, you don't get it.
Right.
The man clearly saw that and said, we're going to go there. And as a result, he didn't do it to get more business. He's saying, look, if we're going to work here in this neighborhood and this part of Chicago, this is what we need to do.
Right.
And then what happens, like you said, way before woke culture, cancel culture, anything, he thought about it saying, and if these kids work and earn it, I'm going to sponsor them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go there. We're going to put it in for the unions so they can have good lives. And you see, that's an example of what the world should be doing, not just in your situation, and a lot of situations.
Correct.
And that's why we have this show to talk about these things. We need to have dialogue.
Yep.
And the last thing I know about the Mirkopoulos family, you're not braggers, you're not show-offs, you're major players. You don't have to act or talk about it. Right. And to me, I admire that so much. I've always admired that about you, Jim, and your family and your business, because I understand how you guys do things.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when I heard about what and this is what I want to bring into this, Jim, is you put together, or you were part of, I'm not sure, maybe you could explain to us, the whole thing now, guys, for Adi and Forti to know. They put, I think it's either you put it together, it was brought to you together, that all this film stuff that's going to Greece, Jim is part of this whole movement. Oh, and that's another reason I wanted him to come on, because you were in LA, you were in England, and tell us, Jim, about this whole thing that's happening now. Sure. And now there's a boom in Greece right now because they're filming shit all over Greece right now.
Yep. I'll tell you the whole story. Nick always, of course, had a love for his homeland that never left him. So I joined the company in. I did my university undergrad degree. I did my MBA at York. I worked for a bank for 2 years. I hated it. So in the year 2000, after I quit the bank and I was just doing some promotional stuff on my own, the uncles and my dad said to me, "It's getting busy. If you want to jump on, now's the time because we could really use the help." And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And then Nick, right away, the year 2000, he said, "Dimitri," he says, "Athens got the Olympics. They're scrapping the old airport. It could be the biggest studio in the Balkans. Start writing letters, start doing proposals." So I have emails from the year 2000 to do studios on the actual Hellinikon airport in Athens.
The original one. That's right.
The original one. And unfortunately, as we've too often heard, every administration after every administration just could not see the forest for the trees, as they say. They didn't have Nick's vision. And it just fell on deaf ears. And the last major feature film to shoot in Greece was Mamma Mia in 2007. And of course, after that, the economy tanked. And there was no realistic way for a project to go there and have a lot of success. It would have the odd location shoot, but no critical mass. So after, we of course blew up the west end of Toronto. We blew up Chicago. And then my cousin calls me from Chicago. He says, "I got a call from Alexis Tsipras' office, Prime Minister of Greece. He's flying to the United States. And on the way to Washington, he wants to stop in Chicago to meet with us." And I said, "Well, that's interesting." I said, after 17 years, I said, and he says, "Can you come down?" So my uncle and I flew down and we met the prime minister, and he had some really smart guys with him. I can't remember, he was the minister of telecommunications, as I understand, and his staff. And he came in, and of course, Uncle Nick had passed 4 years prior to that in 2013. And he looked at the big memorial photo we have. He says, "Wow," he says, "you obviously pay a lot of tribute to your uncle." And my uncle Steve said to him, "Yeah," he says, he died he passed peacefully in northern Greece in the same house he was born in." He says, "But the one, he wasn't able to bring this amazing industry to Greece." And the prime minister says, "That's what I'm here to talk to you about today." So we went to the boardroom, we sat around the table. He says, "Guys," he says, "I have a stack of letters from you this high in the government office." And he said, "Is it too late? That's my question to you today. Is it too late?" And I said, "No, Mr. Prime Minister." I said, "If you have a sustainable tax credit, and Ontario is a good example, and Illinois is a good example, Michigan is a bad example, Atlanta is a bad example, but these two jurisdictions are good examples that we're in of sustainable tax credits. And if you implement one, Greece has so much going for it. I mean, you should get business, interest right away." And he said, "What's a good number?" I said, "Well, in Ontario, it's, at that time, I think we were dabbling. We were at 21.5. I said, in Chicago, it's a 30%, a 25% rebate to producers to reward them for the spend, would be a good place to start." Well, leftist government or no leftist government, some people say leftists are not pro-business. This guy put his people to work, and within 3 months, they had a 25% tax rebate in Greece, which is a very competitive tax rebate for a film rebate for the EU. So they started getting some interest. This was in October of 2017, Prime Minister Tsipras' visit. So in all of 2018, they had some nibbles here, a couple location shoots here and there. A lot of co-productions from Europe would go there, take advantage of the 25%, but nothing really, really tangible. So there was a guy there called me from the telecommunications office. He says, "What else can we do?" I said, "Well, Alex and I go to our sales trip every January. Why don't you come there and come to our meetings with us? We'll show pictures and we'll talk about it. And what we should also do is plan a familiarization tour. We call it, in the industry, we call it a FAM tour, where 20 producers, for example, come to Ontario. The Ontario government pays for their airfare, their hotel, their meals, and they take them to studio, to location, to visual effects house to show them our infrastructure." And I said to the gentleman, I said, "This is what we should do." He says, "Okay, I'm coming to Los Angeles with you." So Alex and I go do our Los Angeles meetings in January. And we rented, in Beverly Hills, the Greek restaurant Avra.
Avra, that's right, the new one, which I haven't been to yet, by the way. My wife's been 5 times.
Oh my God, it's amazing. So they have a beautiful back room. So we rented at Cinespace, we rented the entire back room. And we said to the Greek government, "Come, put up some items and display. We're going to feed people the amazing food. We're going to give them our amazing homeland's wine. And we're going to just romance them and tell them about the tax credit and really advertise it." So we did that. And we got a huge uptake. There was 50 people crammed in that room that night. Everybody wolfing down appetizers, wine.
I missed it by a day. Remember, you called me, Jim.
I remember.
Jim calls me, goes, "Come and hang out," right? Because and I missed you. I don't know where the hell I was.
That's okay.
I always missed the good stuff.
So the government representative announces, he says, "Listen, in May of this year, May of 2019, we're going to do a familiarization tour in Greece, and we want you to be our guests. Here's the sign-up sheet." Well, there was a mad rush for the sign-up sheet. They thought there was an upper limit. Right. And he says, "I don't have what are the dates?" He said, "I don't have the exact dates, but when I go back to Greece in 3 weeks, I'll know everything." So in May of 2019, we had Alex and I and some key partners in Greece escorted 20 film and TV production executives, the physical production executives. These are the people who make the decisions on what countries to go to bring their
big
projects.
shots.
Big
Guys.
Big shots that make the locational decisions.
Right.
Came to Greece. I'm talking about like top companies like Netflix, Amazon, NBC, Warner Brothers, Disney, Legendary, Endeavor Content, Focus Features, HBO, A&E, and a representative from the MPAA, the Motion Picture Association of America, which represents all the studios on legal issues, for example. They all came to Greece, and for 10 days, ourselves, along with our Greek partners, showcased the very best locations that we could into a collapsed time frame. So I had to remind myself the itinerary because it was now going on 2 years ago. Athens, of course, took them to the Acropolis Museum. We gave them a beautiful dinner that night. The next day, we went to an existing studio outside of Athens called Kappa Studios, where I think they filmed, they shot the TV show The Voice. We introduced them there to local suppliers and local production houses that could welcome them and do their location business for them. We went and had a cocktail party at the Onassis Cultural Center. The next day, we got on to 2 yachts, and we went to Hydra, a beautiful island, and to nearby Spetses, and we stayed overnight on the beautiful island of Spetses. The next day, we went to Nafplio and showed them the entire town. And then for 3 days, the last 3 days, that was up until that point, there was a week. And then the last 3 days, we took them to Kalamata, and they stayed at the Costa Navarino.
Nice, the Westin Resort, beautiful.
It is gorgeous. If you know that area, we took them for location filming options. We took them to the Methoni Castle. We took them to Pylos. We took them to Prophetis Elias Church, and we didn't overwhelm them. We let them enjoy Greece. We let them enjoy the food, let them enjoy the wine, the sights, and let the machines in their brains start to turn and say, "Wow." By that time, they had raised the tax rebate from 25 to 30%. So they even made it even more enticing. Wow. So they started to get excited. Well, we saw immediate results from that effort. By August of that year, I was actually in Greece late that summer. I'm getting on the plane, and a Toronto client calls me. He says, a guy named Sean Ryan, he says, "Jim," he says, "please tell me you're in Greece." I said, "I am." He said, "But I'm just about to leave. I'm literally boarding the plane now." He says, "I'm coming in 2 weeks to shoot my Amazon TV series Treadstone on Mykonos. We have a big sequence there."
Wow.
And that's an NBC Universal produced that project for Amazon, as I remember. I said, "That is amazing." I said, "NBC was one of our clients here." He says, "I heard about the tour. I heard about the rebate. We're coming to Mykonos. It's done. We're only shooting in Budapest. That's our headquarters. So for us, it's a short haul flight, and we're very excited. Can you stay and be part of it?" And I said, "Dude," I said, "I have 7 kids and a Greek wife. If I tell her I'm boarding the plane right now, I'm staying to be a producer on the Mykonos."
Guys, you didn't hear wrong. 7 kids.
What?
Bravo.
Got 7 children and a beautiful wife.
Find the time to do that.
I don't sleep. But so I said to the guy,
7 kids.
I said to the guy, "I'm walking up to the top of the stairs to get into the plane." I said, "My wife will throw me off head first if I said, 'Good luck to you. You're hiring the best company. They will look after you. Everything will go great. And thank you for bringing the business to Greece." He says, "No, thank you for the whole NBC thing." And so that was, of course, late 2019. We had a major TV series shoot there. It went very, very well. The government, as the first major client back to Greece, the government looked after them. They streamlined the permit system in Greece, which was important. There used to be a separate office if you wanted to shoot at an archaeological site and a separate film permitting office. They merged them to streamline the process. It used to be that going to Greece was a logistical nightmare. I have to give that leftist government that just left credit. They really got the affairs of the film stuff in order before they were defeated in the election, because the experience of NBC was amazing. It was seamless. I called the producer after. I said, "What do you think?" He said, "We're going to bring more business there." We loved it. Unfortunately, we had COVID in March of 2020. 2020 was going to be the big year in Greece. Big Fat Greek Wedding. We'd already introduced Tom Hanks' company to our Greek partners to do the budget. Nia had written a good chunk of the script to happen in Greece. Unfortunately, because a lot of the cast members are in their senior years, at the biggest risk category for COVID, they just said, you know what, guys, no matter if Greece's travel is open and they have COVID under control, I think we're going to wait, push till next year and cross our fingers. All the cast members are still with us. So 2020 was not the year that we'd hoped for reasons we could not control. But just like you touched on, Ange, this year is going to be huge in Greece, God willing that, COVID stays under control. I saw a Greek Report article the other day where they quoted the government saying there are already 18 projects slated to shoot in 2021. Yes. I think Costas shot one early in the year, right? When it was still snowing, I heard on the podcast.
Yeah, Costas was there.
Right.
He shot one.
Right.
And Nia's the thing with Nia, you're right, is insurance. It's not the production problem. Because of COVID and the elderly cast, it's the insurance.
Okay.
And Chris Phillip, who's a friend of mine at Starlings, Chris.
Yeah.
He's doing Alexander the Great, the series.
I've heard about that project.
The big thing. The same people that did Vikings. And I'm very good friends with Chris. And they're going to Greece to do this. So, I mean, good on them and good on you guys. Because, you see, that's how you do business. All those people that you took to Greece, just what you told me. I mean, they went back thinking, "What? This was amazing."
You got to make it work, and that's the most gratifying part. The other projects that are happening this summer, you may or may not heard about. Jack Reacher, which is an Amazon project. Yeah. Well, the Amazon guy was with us. The other one is
there.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, it's just called Reacher because they're producing another project called Jack Ryan, which has the same guy named Jack. So they're producing two projects in Greece this summer, major location shoots. Reacher, which is this TV series continuation of Jack Reacher, and Jack Ryan is going to Greece as well. I don't know if you heard just last week it came out. Netflix is shooting the Knives Out sequel in Greece.
Yes, with Daniel Craig. I just saw that.
Right. Netflix was one of our guests there as well. David Cronenberg, a luminary director in Canada, is budgeting to shoot in Greece this summer. And of course, we hope Nia Vardalos as well. So I think that lady's from the Greek government. I think her expectation was $90 million, 90 million euros is the expected location cash outlay of the projects going to Greece in 2021. And I think that one that I talked about, Treadstone, for the short period of time they shot in Mykonos, a week or whatever it was, 500,000 euros were spent in the span of a week on Mykonos.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty significant. So that's why we've been hammering, and why Uncle Nick has been hammering for since 2000, because he was trained as an electrician. He got into construction. He saw the value of real estate, but he saw this business that it was unlike any other business. Because how many industries can you say where a gentleman or a lady gets off a plane with a briefcase of cash and they say, I'm coming to your jurisdiction to spend $80 million in this exact geographical area in the next 6 months. There's no business like that. And that's what we explained to the Greek government, is they said, there is no industry like this. In terms of economic stimulus, there's nothing like this. If you promise, let's say you promise Volkswagen, if Volkswagen's going to come to Greece and build a plant, you can promise Volkswagen tax breaks and free property and this and that. But by the time they build the plant and they get the equipment and then they hire the Greek employees, this could be 3, 4, 5 years down the line. We're talking about an impact that's immediate, like literally in the next several months. And then the spillover to catering, car rentals, hotels, carpentry, painters, you name it, anything. And then
the list goes on and on.
Right. Talk about off hours rentals of the Acropolis. Like what these people were pleasantly surprised about Greece was, and I actually have am I allowed to show a photo here? Can I share my screen?
Yeah, whatever you want.
The photo I'm most proud of from our trip was when we went to Kappa Studios. We asked all of the service providers in Greece to join us, small production houses that could come and meet the clients from Los Angeles and talk about what they do. And each one got up for 5 minutes and said, we've been doing service for 10 years. We do little visual effects on the side. We also own some lights and some cable. Let us know. Here's my business card. And so the photo I'm most proud of, it still says disabled screen sharing, but that's okay.
Let me. I'm going to make you host.
Yeah, no problem. What I was going to say is, we had a room full of 200 people.
Okay, you're all set.
20 people from Los Angeles, 180, Greek service providers, visual effects houses, post-production houses, caterers, location managers, all, coming to basically talk about what it is they wanted to, how they could help. This is the photo I'm most proud of. We're inside the Kappa studios. Here's all the Los Angeles people. And on the left is all the service providers that were filing into the studio to talk about all the services they provided. And then the best part was the Los Angeles clients got to ask, how do you guys handle, are you unionized? What happens if you run over a 12-hour day? Like, what is the impact? There's a gentleman from the government addressing the crowd, answering a bunch of questions. We got to mingle with them a little bit, talk about the kinds of things that they did. And then there was a presentation about all the, the amazing things that Greece has to offer. In fact, actually, I could just play. There's like a 30-second. Can I play this really quick?
Yeah, totally.
I'll blow up the screen and hit play and make it go here.
Look at you, all high tech, Jim.
Love it.
You guys hear it too?
Yes. Wow.
That was
amazing.
Great.
Amazing.
I love that ending, Jim. Your story, our business.
Right.
Bravo. I mean, that
Jim, I just want to say very quickly, my whole entire life has been dedicated to Greece and Hellenic things. And, every single day I deal with something Greek. And that was very moving and very inspiring.
Produced by the Greek government, of all things. Like, how amazing.
Really?
So a nice surprise was, while the clients were in Los Angeles, the government jacked it up to 35%. And Prime Minister Mitsotakis has just jacked up to 40%. It's now the most competitive filmed rebate in all the EU. We have so much momentum there. We have so much going for us. If we can get rid of this COVID nonsense, we're going to have a great year. So we're so gratified that, the one part of Uncle Nick's legacy, besides the community building here in Toronto and Chicago and giving back, he really wanted to bring this industry back to Greece. Even if we never build a studio there one day, we're just so happy that industry members are going back to Greece. My cousin Alex got 2 calls last week from some of the early producers at our Chicago campus. One was for Transformers, which the Transformers back in 2009, 2010, I guess, that shot in Chicago, and the other producer of the Divergent series. And they both said within 48 hours, they both called me and said, "I'm in Greece this summer. Are you going to be here? Come and visit the set." And he said the same thing to both of them. He said, "Man, if Uncle Nick could hear that, how happy would he be?" Well, he can see us right now and the success we're having. He's happy. But man, what an amazing industry to bring back. So after we left the Kappa studios, we get back on the bus. All the clients turn to me and they say, "How does everyone know how to speak English?" I said, "Well, that's the amazing part about Greece. Not only are the technicians amazing at what they do, because Greece has like 100-year cinematic history, but they, just like Canada, where we're forced, in elementary school, gun to the head, to learn French. In Greece, many people learn English either in day school or they go after school and they learn English because they want to. So all the crew members there and the producers were speaking to our clients in Greek, and they said, "This blows us away. Every jurisdiction we go to in the EU, these people are struggling to put a sentence together. We've shot movies in Bulgaria and nobody understands what we're saying. We have to hire a Bulgarian guy to be the intermediary. And there's envelopes of cash, left, right, and center." We said, no. Greece has turned the corner on all that stuff. And if you give them a chance, you'll be very, very happy with the result. So really the success story here is the Greek crews that have made it through very difficult years with almost no business. They've stuck to their craft. They've made small, as you know, Angelo, low budget Greek cinema over the last 10, 12 years to get through this really, really low point. And I get so many calls and emails saying, "Thank you for doing this." I said, "No, thank you guys for still being in this business. This was going to happen organically at some point. We just wanted to light a fire under it to really get it boiling." So we're very, very happy with how things are going. And, if Greece has a good year, they're going to break records in a big way. So
that's incredible.
Jim, it's phenomenal. Like, I mean, everything you've captivated all of us. Like, we're listening. And here's the thing. Everybody always says this, and I'm not gonna put artists on the spot. I went back to Greece to do a show that we filmed at the Kakoyannis Foundation. We gave the money when we were there. I went back again, and I said, if everybody does a little bit, just a little bit, like you guys are doing, you got families, you got business. If everybody does a little bit to help, because there was always that cynicism in Greece that the Greeks from the diaspora, they don't care. I think we care more than they know. And you're a good example, you and the team that went and did that. Now look what's happening. I mean, if you didn't care about it, if you didn't care to prosper, if we didn't care about doing the show, then we wouldn't care about it. We'd say, I got better things to do. But we all give a shit. And the thing is, what I admire about it, and it's such a great example, and I hope people who are going to watch this specific episode with you are going to come away with something that if we all just do a little bit, it's going to make life better there. And ultimately, I think it's all like you said, like your Uncle Nick's dream, like my dad's dream, like all our parents, man. I honestly think when the Greeks left Greece, in their brain, it was temporary.
Yeah.
And I do a joke where my dad says, well, I'm going to go to Canada for 4 or 5 years. I'm not staying longer. And then I'm going to go back to Greece. Well, we know what happened. But it's still engraved.
Yeah.
I think we carry that within us also.
Absolutely.
Like you said, that to go to Greece. And now look what's happening. All these things, like now Daniel, I just saw the Knives Out thing. Yep. They're going to Greece. And what monkey see, monkey do, right? And that's what happens in Hollywood. Now I know you guys have no space in Toronto because you're just jammed.
Pretty busy.
Chicago, Toronto is just packed.
It is.
And you're like, we're gonna go to, I know you have a place in Kleinburg. Where's next? Kingston, Belleville, Ottawa. I don't know.
Well, the nice thing about the increased volumes coming from Netflix and Amazon is that they are seeing how busy it is in downtown Toronto, and they do what I call spreading the jam over the toast. They're going a little bit further out. So in Ontario, we have a decommissioned mental institution in St. Thomas, Ontario. It's an 1.5-hour drive. Well, guess what? The Amazon TV series, The Boys, they filmed there for like 3-4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Kingston Penitentiary, I went to school in Kingston. That's now open for filming, and it's a beautiful old limestone jail. That's 3 hours the other way. Shows are going there. We're talking right now to the municipality of Port Hope, where those scary clown movies from Warner Brothers, so the It movies, they shot there. They want us to manage all their downtown location filming, which is very interesting and maybe an exciting opportunity. So that's the great part about this industry is it will spread all over Greece. In fact, when we were there in 2019, the owner of the new Boyana Studios, where they shot all the Expendables movies in Bulgaria, he announced he was going to build a studio in Thessaloniki because that's a 3-hour drive for him. It's nothing for him to have some studio infrastructure in Thessaloniki. I don't think he's built it yet, but the intent is to do it. I hope he was not just making it up. So you will see infrastructure start to pop up all over Greece because eventually, let's say we built a studio there. Well, one studio is going to accommodate only Netflix for 6 weeks, and then what? You have to turn everybody else away. You need enough infrastructure to accommodate multiple projects. I think exactly what happened in Toronto, what happened in Chicago, is going to happen in Greece as well. And touching on your previous point, Angela, I think it's very, very important for all of us that have the means to find a way to go back and help our brothers and sisters and our family members in Greece. Because they've been, this is now, add coronavirus, 10 years to 10, 11, 12 years after they went through the other thing. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was God's plan. They went through the other thing. So to be ready for this thing, learn how to go back to the village and learn how to have a garden in the back. So you don't have to go to the market to buy your aguria and your tomatas, right? So the Greeks have gone through a very, very difficult time. I say, go on that website, spitogatos.gr. And I say, go to your village. If you see a horafi for sale close to your yaya's house, buy it. Because you can't lose. What's the downside?
It's going to go up for sure.
It's going to.
Hey,
listen,
when you got was Ted Sarandos on that tour of Greece?
No. He sent a junior person who's in charge of.
I was going to say because I'm trying to get Ted. I've met Ted a few times. Yeah. Once with Vince Vaughn, and I'm trying to get him as a guest on the show. But he's one of the most powerful people in Hollywood, if not the most powerful. Right? Yeah. And I was like, the guy goes. You think you get Ted? Because, Ted, when I talked to him, he's raised in Arizona. Yeah. And his family's from Samos. They're Samiotas, right?
That's right.
So I was talking to him, and I was just getting ready to go to Greece myself. Here's the best part. When I met Ted Sarandos, I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
I go, I'm just another Greek guy. I met him at the screening of Delivery Man with Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
And that's where I met. And then I go, and then Russell, it was Billy Gardell or somebody came up and go, you know who that guy is, right? I know, yeah, his name's Ted. He's a Greek guy. That's Ted Sarandos. I go, what? That's Ted Sarandos.
Pretty powerful guy. Our last trip to Los Angeles, we left him a bottle of very hard to find Greek wine and a nice bottle of olive oil. Hopefully he appreciated that. But
nice.
2 trips before that, we asked for a meeting with Jim Mirkopoulos before he left Fox and went over to Paramount.
Right.
And so Alex and I just wanted to meet him. So we got the meeting. He sits down and he says, so guys, I hear about the success in Toronto, Chicago. Congratulations. He says, what would you like to talk about? And we just look at each other and said, we just wanted to meet you. So thank you for taking this meeting. We just wanted to hang out and talk to you a little bit. And we talked a little bit about Greece, what our efforts were in Greece. He loved hearing about that. And he says, what are you guys doing tonight? After I said, we're going to go to the Havana room. He says, I have a cigar locker there. He gets a card that says, of course, Jim Mirkopoulos, CEO. He writes on the back, Johnny or whatever the guy's name is, let these guys into my locker. He hands it to me. I'm like, oh my gosh. Went to the Havana cigar room that night.
I know. I was pissed because you're at Grand Havana in Beverly Hills. Yeah. And that's when you called me. Yeah. Of all the times, I'm like, dude, I'm not there.
I think Billy Zane was with us that night. But there was a producer with us that night from Chicago, Bob Title, who did all the barbershop movies. He's a good friend. And he's like, we show it to the guy at the door. He's like, is this real? I said, of course it's real. We just met with him a few hours ago. He lets us in. And Bob's like, okay, let's grab it. No. One each, guys. One each. Best cigar I've ever had. It was, and Jim was so gracious. And as you know, he's a big supporter of bringing film back to Greece. But going back to the theme of helping people in Greece, a little known story, Steve Stavro, who was a huge Hellene here in Toronto, who owned the Maple Leafs at one point. He owned a grocery store, made enough money to buy the Maple Leafs. Not many people know this, but his village is not far from Castoria, where my family's from. And people would tell stories about it. He'd go visit in the summertime, and he would just go door to door in the village that he grew up in. He'd just open the door. "Do you guys, envelope of cash, close the door, go to the next house." Go door to door and do cash drops because he didn't want to see his people, his family members and extended family members and people that he grew up in the village. He didn't want to see them struggling. So talk about giving back. This guy went way under the radar, knock on the door, envelope of cash, next house. Not everyone has the means to do that, but how amazing a philotimo gesture is that, right? Yeah. Just you want your village to thrive. And then before, of course, he passed away, he built up the platea and made it beautiful. Like it's one of the most developed, it's one of the villages, the smallest populations in northern Greece with the most beautiful platea because he really cared about his roots. And I think all of us have that in common. And God willing, we can all meet in Greece one day as film or TV producers and do some projects together.
Yeah, guys, just so you know, Steve Stavro was also the owner of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
He owned the hockey team. What was it called? Farms.
Nob Hill Farms.
Nob Hill Farms. Yeah, you see the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Promise with Nob Hill Farms. That one's patatas pioftinas.
As Boston Bruins fans, yes, we know about the Maple Leafs.
Oh, here we go.
They're Boston fans, Jim.
We hate Boston up here. They have destroyed us multiple years in a row.
Oh, man.
And, guys, we get to interview Greeks from all around the world, literally South Africa, Australia. But you got to admit, guys, the most interesting Greeks are all out of Canada.
You use the key word, interesting.
Interesting.
But, to take it back towards the beginning of this interview, we talked about how Greeks are so hardworking and they become successful. But the point you made, that industry, to me, I mean, to a lot of people, but to me specifically, it's just such a cool industry to get into. And it's just amazing to hear all these stories. Yeah. And, I've always been like kind of a film buff. I did film in college. Now I'm a tech guy, but I love hearing about this. I love hearing about these types of stories. I love hearing about how this industry flourishes and how it helps and how it gives back. It's just an amazing story.
And how many
really, we appreciate you.
Right?
What?
And the fact of how many Greek Americans are involved.
Yeah. It's huge. And it's getting bigger every day. It's just an incredible industry. And we just feel privileged to be a part of it. And at some point in the past, I'm trying to remember when it was, late 80s, I think, the Philotimo and the film industry merged. I remember a lady, I was working summers at Cinespace on Eastern Avenue. I remember a lady came in, very, very like fresh off the boat Greek. Like I could barely understand her Greek. Mm-hmm. And she was like, to my uncle. And he says, he gets out his checkbook, he cuts a check for 20 grand. He hands it to her. I said, what was that all about? Who's the lady? And he says, you'll find out in a few weeks. She was about to shoot a movie and we're going to be listed as a contributor. This lady had complained to my uncle Nick that a lot of people still arriving from Greece, especially more importantly, women, didn't understand that Canada had laws against domestic abuse. So when they got slapped around by their husband, they didn't know there was an option to call the police or to go and speak to somebody in counseling and deal with the problem the way it should have been dealt with. And so this lady had an idea. I said, if we could only film a dramatic scene of wife abuse, but dramatized, and then explain and then show the woman actually going for help. And then if we distribute this to churches across Canada, maybe one or two of these ladies will pick up the video, watch it, or quietly away from their husband and say, boy, I didn't know I could get help for this kind of thing. So the movie was called Litrosis, and it was, I guess, in 1989, 1990, like late 80s, early 90s. And I have a copy of it somewhere. My VHS doesn't work anymore because my kids jammed a sandwich into it, so it's gone. And try to buy a new one and go on Amazon. VHS machines like $1,000. It's ridiculous. So
like $59.
It used to be, right? So anyway, so years later now, our biggest community effort here in Toronto is helping women's shelters and helping women transition from bad relationships into new lives. Because the film people, they film a TV series, they end up with brand new bedding, a new couch, new pots and pans, because they had to dress a condo or an apartment or a house. Well, these film guys, they're just going to get peanuts if they put it up for auction for a set sale. But what an amazing impact to collect all these items, give them to a woman who's leaving the shelter and starting a new life. There's thousands of dollars that she doesn't need to spend to start her new life away from the abusive husband. So,
that's amazing.
So we help local women's shelters, but also we've gotten the film people engaged in just taking all their housewares, give it to the shelter. The next woman who's on tap to leave gets this pile of housewares that, she never would have been able to buy. So Uncle Nick started this in the late 80s, and look now, 33 years later, that little piece of his legacy continues with helping women's shelters. So that's something that we're really proud of. He was such a special guy. If we can make him smile where he is just by doing the kinds of things that he wanted to do and to continue doing, but his time was cut short, then I know that all of us will feel very happy about that.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Awesome. That's great. I mean, it just goes to show you that out of anything that you do, it's the people involved that make the difference.
Yeah.
And then if people want to make a difference, they will. And I mean, this has been great, Jim. I mean, we've already gone an hour, if you can believe it.
I know that flew by. That was like
fast because you had us all like this.
Inspiring.
And what we
Sorry about that.
I don't apologize.
Not too much.
No.
Sometimes you're pulling teeth to get people to talk. And with you, it's just like,
well, we're really excited. We're really excited about the Greece project and just the momentum we're hearing about in the last week. I mean, we couldn't be happier with helping this industry go back to Greece. But the real people that are going to be part of the welcoming of the business and the retention are the very, very talented people in Greece that have been doing this for years and years.
Yeah. And
now they're going to get the opportunities to service the biggest Hollywood clients. And, maybe the first assistant director that is normally in Greece used to shooting as a first AD, he'll take a second or a third AD position, but he'll follow two Hollywood people and he'll basically sponge the knowledge off them. Yeah. The next job he goes on to will be Hollywood grade. So Greece has an amazing economic opportunity and a learning opportunity. And luckily, Prime Minister Mitsotakis understands the hard work that was done by the previous government. And what did he do as soon as he got into power? Let's make it 40%. Let's really go after the rest of the EU's business, start bringing that business to Greece. So we're very, very pleased that the government has made those steps. It shows that they believe in the economic power and the good news story of this industry.
Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you, Jim, you got 7 kids, man. I remember you before you had kids when you guys just got married.
Yeah.
And you had the first one. And every time I left Toronto, man, I lived in Toronto for 10 years. Every time I go back, I'd be like, what are we at now? 3. It was 5.
Like gremlins. You pour water on them and they multiply.
You got a beautiful family, Jim. That's great. And I mean, I'm very proud to say you're my friend.
Thank you, brother.
You guys have always been good to me over the years in Toronto.
It's mutual.
And quality. I mean, I can't say more than what you've said. I mean, look at the Filotimo and the pride that's instilled in it. I mean, this is an example for a lot of people who are going to watch this. This is a good example of how we can make things just a little bit better, a little bit. And I really appreciate you coming on today with us, Jim. But before we let you go, because it's a team effort here. I see how I did the Greek thing before I let you go. So before we let you go, Forti, we have a little, as you know, we do a little, Forti has a little special Q&A he does.
All right, let's go for it.
And then Ari will take it home.
So, Jim, this has been an honor and just so inspiring to listen to you as Greek Americans. It's individuals like yourselves that keep the flame for us going as Greeks. Whether we're Greek Canadian, Greek Americans, Greek Australians, as Angela's mentioned, we all have some common feelings inside.
Absolutely.
We got to know you a little bit today. And we, thankfully we got introduced to you by Angela, and this won't be the last time. Hopefully we can develop a friendship like you did with Angelo.
Absolutely.
And but we have a couple questions for you to get to know you a little better.
Sure.
So, growing up as Greek Canadian in a Greek household, can you tell us, Jim, your favorite and least favorite Greek food growing up?
Oh man, growing up, not now.
Growing up.
Well, how about both? Both.
I dreaded fakes growing up, but now with a little balsamic vinegar, it's like magical. It's the best. It's the best.
There you go.
And with bread, just dipping in it, like I would run away from the table when I saw her smoke fakes. Now it's a staple in the house.
Yeah,
I love it. I probably didn't enjoy seafood growing up, and all these trips to Greece. When you go to a seaside tavern and you're eating they show you the fish with the beautiful clear eyes, or just caught a few hours ago. When you taste that, it's not like anything you've tasted, at a restaurant anywhere else. It's so I have a new appreciation for fish. I didn't really eat it a lot growing up, but now, boy, oh boy, I have to tell you, I really, really enjoy it.
How things change, right?
Yeah.
So you did mention previous your roots are from Castoria.
Mm-hmm.
So were both your parents born in Greece? Are you first generation?
Both my parents born in Castoria, absolutely, and then they moved here in the late '60s and early '70s.
So I'm sure that growing up, you've heard your fair share of your parents having their classic Greek sayings.
Oh yes.
Any memorable Greek sayings that you can share with us?
Well, I grew up in a household of 3 boys, so the first one that comes to mind right away is "Tafas xilo," right away. Every Greek boy knows that one.
Yep.
And then because sometimes I was a little aloof and a little, in a distant world, my mom would say, "Dimitris peravrechi." I don't know if you heard that one before.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. And then if I hadn't called somebody in a long time, or if I haven't called my mom or dad, because I was away at boarding school, I went away to university, and I did my teenage years were mostly gone in my early 20s. And I'd call my mom, "Hey mom, what's going on?" Santa Hionia.
The guilt trip, the classic.
Just to really rub it in. Probably my favorite is my yaya in Castoria, in a little village called Kalahori. We just have these little chats and discussions, and she would talk about how important it is to be kind to people and this and that. And she always emphasized talking about people and behind their backs, and don't talk about people. She used to say, "I glossa kokala denehi ala kokala spy." Have you guys heard that one?
Oh, I like that one.
You ever heard that one before?
That's a good one.
Kokala spy.
Yes.
Because when you speak badly about people, you're destroying them.
Yes. That's a good one.
That one, she somehow, when she said it to me, I had that same reaction you guys just did. It just burned in my brain. I have never forgotten it. That's the one I've taken through, my whole life. I was young when I was having those conversations with her, and I never forgot that one. Beautiful wisdom from the grandparents.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then last but not least, Jim, whether we believe it or not, as Greeks, we're super superstitious. In many ways.
Sure.
Is there any superstition that you still live by?
I didn't have many growing up, to be honest with you, but being married to a Greek woman, I've got a whole bunch of new ones. I'll tell you the one I never thought would bother me, because it's now part of me, is my wife would always say, like we'd be getting ready to go somewhere for New Year's Eve. And now, of course, with kids, we don't really go anywhere anymore. But I always remember her saying, well, we got to vacuum the house and clean the pots and pans and everything, because on New Year's Day, the house has to be spotless.
Right.
God forbid the house is not spotless on New Year's Day, because doesn't that mean that your house will be messy every day of the year or something like that?
Every day of the year, that's right.
So I hated that one. And then what do I find myself doing every New Year's Eve before anything else, before the food is? I'm vacuuming like a madman, spraying Windex on the mirrors so there's no splatter marks, the Lysol on the toilet bowl. Everything has to be spotless. I never thought I would be like this, but that's something about me. It's like, I want New Year's Day. I want, that day the house to be clean.
I think that was just her clever way of getting you to clean the house.
Maybe. You guys have never heard that one before about New Year's Day?
Yeah, we have actually. Yeah.
So it's not just me. For some reason, that's now burned into me as well. I hate it, but it is what it is. So.
That's what keeps it interesting for us as Greeks. There's all these funny, quirky things that, whether we believe it or not, we find ourselves doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Very true. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you guys. And congratulations again. I mean, I've been flipping through the episodes. So much interesting content there. I mean, you guys really hit on something cool.
Thank you.
And I hope you keep doing it. And if you don't know, Billy Zane's one of our biggest advocates in Chicago. Every time we advocate for tax credit improvements, he's at the legislature, talking about the industry. He'd be a fun guest to have on, because that guy's got some stories.
Oh yeah,
I hung out with Billy a couple of times at the LAGFF. I'm going to reach out to Billy.
Okay.
If I don't have his new number, I'm going to reach. You'll help me get it.
I have it.
Great thing, Jim. We'll get you to tell him.
He actually did me a favor. He did me a favor a few years ago, because we, in the 33 years of business, we only had two. We've been lucky. Instead of saying we only have two, we actually have two movies that won Oscars, Best Picture Oscars, that shot in our building. The one that Angela referred to is Chicago. The second one, a friend of mine, J. Miles Dale, he produced alongside Guillermo del Toro, was called Shape of Water.
Yes.
So this thing got, I don't know, 11, 13 nominations, some ridiculous number of nominations a few years ago. So, the nominees flew off to LA, and we kind of felt bad because the crew members are just going to be sitting at home watching this. We said, let's throw a party. So we rented the Palais Royale. The Palais Royale, on Shore Boulevard, beautiful Greek-owned banquet hall facility. And I called Billy just on a whim, in case he was in Chicago, to come for a short haul flight. Said, come add a little Hollywood glitz and glamour to our party. And he says, I'm flying from London that night back to Chicago. Why don't I do a stopover in Toronto? I said, amazing. I'll rent you the room. I'll pay the flight, change, whatever you need. So he comes to we throw a party for 400 people. Billy Zane's being interviewed by anybody, because he was in Titanic, and it's a little bit of a real Hollywood is there that night. People come dressed in tuxes. We have an amazing, amazing time. And a couple days before that, Greek family owns the banquet hall. A couple days before that, as we're walking around, in honor of Guillermo, we made a tequila station and a taco station, to honor our longtime client. And as I'm walking around, I said to the young lady who runs the facility, I said, I got to be honest with you. There's a small chance when those guys get on stage in a couple of nights to we're going to win some awards for this movie, because they have so many near and dear crew members and friends in this room. They may just mention Palais Royale. It might just happen. And if that happens, I want a very big discount. And she says, yeah, of course. And the little lady who's behind her with the clipboard right now, she goes, only if we get direct business from it, sir. Only if we get direct referral business from it. I said, yeah, we'll see. So we have the big party. It's a huge success, but we go an hour into the programming. We still haven't won an Academy Award. So the room is a little bit quieter now. And the award comes up for Best Design. Billy Zane was working the room. Every girl was going up to him the guy's like Adonis. Every girl's going up to him, asking for his autograph and his selfie. And the design award, the design Oscar for Best Design comes up. And I knew we had a really good shot at it. There's a Toronto boy named Paul Osterberry. Sure enough, they say Shape of Water. The room goes nuts. Everybody goes crazy. And sure enough, he grabs the Oscar. He gets up there. He says, before I say anything, all my crew members are partying tonight at the Palais Royale in Toronto. I want to give a shout out to them. Whole room goes crazy. I look across the room to the owner and I said, discount. I said, discount.
A billion people just heard that.
What their social media just blew up. Now, apparently, in the history of the Oscars, nobody has mentioned a bar, a restaurant, or any kind of banquet establishment like that. So we made history that night. We helped that family boost their business. They have a great business anyway, but Billy Zane did me a solid, added a little glitz and glamour that night, and It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. Oh my gosh! Here, before I let you go, I have a video. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I have a video from that night queued up here.
Oh, that's cool.
Can you guys see?
Yep.
I just looked at it earlier today. There it is. Well, best picture. That's when Guillermo won best picture. That one's too long. It's this one here for the design. I think we'll see.
That's so cool.
Little piece of Cinespace history that night on Oscar night, and it just made sense to throw a party because how often you get clients that clean up and haul.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Oh, they had a blast. So guys, this has been such an honor for me. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if we ran over, but I really
No, it was
talking
great.
to you guys.
This was incredible. Like again, something that has always interested me. When we met Angelo and we started hanging out with Angelo, he's introducing us to all these people, which is just so cool. I mean, it's to me, it's the coolest thing in the world. And you are a classic example of that. And you represent all the things that we love to see in our fellow Greeks. Success, humility, giving back, philanthropy. Like you're the whole package, Jim. And thank you so much for being with us. It was an honor to meet you and amazing.
Thank you guys. All you guys are enterprising for starting this initiative, and I really, really appreciate you letting me be a small part of it. Keep it up, and I'd love to talk to you guys again after we bring some more momentum to Greece. I do a follow-up story.
Oh, absolutely.
What else? See what other exciting things we can announce there.
Absolutely, definitely. And okay, so we want to say thank you to everybody out there who's watching, listening. This is one of the stories that this is why we do what we do. It's these types of stories, these types of people. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching, listening. Foti, thank you. Angelo, as always, you're awesome. We love you, buddy. Jim, amazing guy, family. You have 7 kids. You could adopt me 8 with no big difference. But I got to bring my wife and my son too, so it'll be
no problem.
fun. But thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you guys
very much.
God bless.
Thanks,
all the best.
God bless.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Guys.
God bless. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Actually, Jim, you're the host, so you got to end it.
Okay. Happy to do it. Good night, guys. All the best. Take care.
See you too.